Here's something that will sound too simple until you really sit with it. According to A Course in Miracles, you only ever feel two things. Not hundreds of emotions. Not the complex, layered, contradictory mess of feelings we spend years in therapy trying to sort out. 2. Love and fear. That's it. Anger, fear, jealousy, fear, grief, fear, joy, love, compassion, love, genuine peace, love. The Course is saying that every single emotional experience you've ever had, no matter how nuanced it felt, was a variation of one of those two things. And the reason this matters is not because it oversimplifies your life. It's because it gives you a map. And once you have that map, you can never be quite as lost again. By the end of this video, you're going to understand the most foundational teaching in all of A Course in Miracles, the idea that love and fear are the only two forces operating in your mind at any given moment. You'll understand why this isn't a simplification, but actually a profound clarification. You'll see how this framework explains patterns in your relationships, your work, your self-talk, and your health that may have confused you for years. And you'll have a concrete, practical way to use this understanding in real time, today, so that instead of being swept along by your emotions, you start to recognize what's actually happening underneath them. This is the lens that makes everything else in the Course make sense. Imagine you're in a meeting at work. Your manager gives some feedback on a project you worked hard on, and something tightens in your chest. You feel defensive, maybe a little hot. You start mentally drafting a rebuttal before they've finished the sentence. Later, alone, that feeling morphs into something else. Maybe you start wondering if you're actually good at your job. Maybe you replay the moment over and over. Maybe you're short with someone you love that evening for no reason they can see. Now zoom out. What just happened? On the surface, you got some feedback. Underneath, a cascade of reactions that touched your sense of worth, your fear of failure, your need to be seen as competent, your worry about the future. None of those reactions were about the feedback. They were about fear. Now imagine the same scenario, same feedback, but you hear it from a place of security. You're curious. You ask questions. You take what's useful, leave what isn't, and go home present with the people you love. Same external event. Completely different internal world. That second response, the Course would call it love. Not romantic love. Not emotional warmth necessarily. Just the absence of fear. Just groundedness. Just clarity. A Course in Miracles makes a stark, unambiguous claim early in the text: love is real and fear is not. Now that sounds like a bumper sticker, so let's unpack what it actually means. The Course isn't saying fear doesn't feel real, or that painful things don't happen, or that you should suppress your emotions and pretend to be fine. It's saying something more specific. Fear is a response to something that isn't true about you. It is always, at its root, a response to the belief that you are separate from love, from safety, from God, from other people, from your own wholeness. And because that belief in separation is, according to the Course, a mistake, fear is always a response to a mistake. It's real as an experience. It's not real as a fact about the world. Love, on the other hand, is what's actually here when the fear is removed. It's not something you manufacture or earn or feel on good days. It's the ground state of your mind when it's not being run by the ego's fear-based programming. The Course describes love as your natural inheritance, not something you have to achieve, but something you have to stop blocking. This is why the Course says the opposite of love is not hate. Hate is just fear with a target. The real opposite of love is fear, the belief that you are incomplete, threatened, or not enough. But here's the question most people ask at this point: how do I actually tell the difference in real life? Because fear doesn't always announce itself as fear. It shows up dressed as logic, as protection, as perfectly reasonable caution. And love doesn't always feel soft and warm, sometimes it's firm, clear, even uncomfortable. So how do you actually know which one is running the show? The Course gives us a surprisingly practical answer. It says love extends. Fear contracts. That's the test. When you're operating from love, even when you're setting a boundary, even when you're saying something hard, there's an openness. An expansion. You feel present, connected, alive to what's happening. When you're operating from fear, even when you're smiling, even when you're doing something that looks generous on the outside, there's a tightening. A pulling back. A quality of self-protection or scarcity underneath the surface. Think about a decision you're currently wrestling with, a conversation you've been avoiding, a change you're considering, something you want but are afraid to want. Now ask yourself, what does staying where I am feel like in my body? Tight or open? Contracted or spacious? And what does the thing I actually want feel like, the version of this situation where I'm not afraid? That contrast is the Course's map in action. Fear contracts. Love extends. Your body already knows the difference. The practice is learning to listen. Here's what to do today. For the next 24 hours, when you notice any emotional reaction, frustration, worry, resentment, flatness, avoidance, just pause and ask one question: is this love or fear? You don't need to fix it. You don't need to change it. Just name it. This is fear. That single act of recognition is the beginning of the shift the Course is pointing to. You cannot choose differently until you see what you're choosing. Naming fear is the first step to releasing it. We started with the idea that you only ever feel two things. And I imagine that if you've been sitting with it through this video, it's starting to feel less like a simplification and more like a revelation. Because once you have that map, once you know that the tightness in your chest is fear, and that fear is always a response to something that isn't ultimately true about you, you have something most people never get. A way out. Not out of life's difficulties. Out of the story that those difficulties define you. That is what A Course in Miracles is offering. A way to tell the difference between the dream and the truth. Between the noise and the signal. Between what's real and what your scared mind invented. Subscribe so you don't miss the next video, because in video 4 we meet the thing that generates the fear in the first place. It has a name in the Course, and understanding it will change how you see almost every pattern in your life. Leave a comment below. In your own life right now, where do you notice fear showing up disguised as something else? See you in video 4.